Okay. Good evening. I'd like to call this March 17th, 2021 meeting of the City of Manassas Park Planning Commission to order. The time is 7:01. My name is Lester Finkel. Sitting this evening are Martha Collier, John Evans, and Alana Mensing. The next item is the moment of silence and Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Evans, will you lead us in that if you don't mind?
Will do. Thank you. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, the next item is the approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda this evening? Seeing none, I'll ask for a motion to approve the agenda, to accept the agenda.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next agenda item is adoption of minutes from our February 10th, 2021 meeting. There were a couple of items I've already provided. Are there any other adjustments to the adoption, the meeting minutes from February 10th? Okay. Seeing none, can I ask for a motion to adopt the meeting minutes as amended from February 10th, 2021?
So moved.
Moved, second. Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We're up to members of the public. Are there any members of the public present who want to speak on a matter that's not on the agenda this evening? Okay. I don't see any, so there's no members of the public for that. And just for the commissioner's knowledge, the reason our meeting was moved to today, a couple of Fridays ago, I found out that the Board of Equalization had set up a meeting on our meeting time for last week. Apparently, they were not aware of our bylaws having changed to move the meeting date from what we used to have Monday to Wednesday. So I've just asked to make sure if the city can make sure it doesn't happen again for any of our commissions meeting, and I was told that would happen. So apologize for the move in the meeting, but thanks for being flexible. Great. So this evening we have a few informational meetings. So no hearings, but we do have a few meetings. So there are two that are related, and I'd like to, I think we talked, we'll just take each one, have an informational meeting for each, even though they're related. Is that fair? Or would you like to put them all?
I'd like to, put them all
Good.
together and then remove
Perfect.
to be separate.
That's great. So what I'll do is I'll just open up an informational meeting, and I'll read the two items so that they're covered for the informational meeting. So the informational meeting will cover the site plan SP number 20-10A, Village at Manassas Park Phase 1A residential. And it'll also cover site plan SP number 20-10B, Village at Manassas Park Phase 1A commercial. The time is 7:06. Administrator Barry, floor is yours.
Great, good evening, Chairman Finkel and members of the Planning Commission. For the record, I am Michelle Berry, Planning and Zoning Administrator for the city. We do have, and we are taking these in combination because they're very closely related. Two site plans in front of you this evening for your recommendation. And these are related to the downtown development known as Village at Manassas Park. So I identified where the site plan locations are. As you can see, SP 20-10A is really to the east of the property in which we're sitting in right now. That's that big white building in the center is the top of City Hall. So the first site plan encompasses the vacant property to the east, as well as Hart Center Court. Those are highlighted in yellow. And then the other site plan number 20-10B is what's highlighted in blue, and that encompasses some vacant property at the intersection of Manassas Drive and Park Center Court, along with the existing, I like calling it truck driving school or CDL property. And then they are doing some off-site work at the top there for grading and stormwater related matters. Just to recap of how we got here, these properties were rezoned. A majority of it was rezoned in October of 2020 under rezoning 20-06 that had proffers as well as several waivers. I believe it was 12 zoning waivers and 7 public facility manual waivers. There was a separate rezoning for the truck driving school property, and that was done under rezoning 20-11. Trying to be creative with the colors, but I can see the I like. That's 20-11. That was done separately. The city, acquired that property separately and later on in the development process. So, and it was city-owned property, and we took forward it as just a rezoning for that. No properties or anything attached to that. The properties are all zoned MUD as shown on the view. Everything in the where shade is MUD, which is our downtown mixed-use district. And then to the east, southeast, essentially, is the railroad tracks and the RV parking garage that is zoned A1. And then we have some peripheral industrial property to the west and north. And then just a bit of B2, which is our general commercial district, northwest of the site, excuse me. I just wanted to show a few pages from the site plan. The way that these two plans distinguish themselves is A is residential component of the Village of Manassas Park. You can see several of the 2 or 3 townhomes identified as 1 unit here, and that is on that approximately 8-acre property to the east of us. There's going to be 164 units as part of this site plan. They are also doing improvements for Park Center Court in conjunction with this site plan. That was a component of the proffer. And so they knew they had to install this before the 164 certificate of occupancy was issued. So that's been combined on this site plan. And I just also like to highlight the landscaping plan, gives you a bit of idea. The emphasis really is for the residential, a lot of landscaping along the property that abuts the railroad right away. You can see several circles, which are trees and shrubs. There's also going to be an 8-foot wooden fence. Of note is a pocket park, basically in the middle of the screen at the terminus of what they're calling, private road D. And then there is a courtyard, as you can see on the lower left of the screen, in front of several buildings, rows. So that's going to provide some green space for this residential area. The overall site plan does meet the parking, both bicycle and vehicular, as well as all the other zoning requirements such as the height, any setbacks, and coverage requirements. I'm not going to go into the details on that. It is provided in the staff report. I'd be happy to address any specific questions you have. And then just finally, I think just identify some of the landscaping and the street improvements, enhancements that are going to be done on Center Court. And then moving along, this is the site plan 20-10B. It focuses on a commercial component of this overall development, and it will include the future city hall, which is known as Building A, as well as a separate standalone retail or restaurant building known as Building C, and city hall parking to the rear of these properties. It also will provide a public road that will extend from Manassas Drive and providing access to the city hall parking lot, as well as the future BRV garage, which will be designed by others and is not shown on this site plan. And then this road will also connect to Park Center Court. You can see that there is going to be a large stormwater management structure underneath the parking garage. That's kind of what that grid system looks like. Again, just to note that the parking was done as the overall site plan, the overall development. So they are providing parking in each phase, and it will eventually total what was approved as part of the rezoning. And the staff report again details that information. And then just real quickly, here's some highlights of landscaping for this component of the development. You can see that there is substantial landscaping again along the railroad right of way. And of note, you can see the plaza area in front of City Hall, as well as the restaurant retail building. There is more of that public area between the buildings as well. We do have here somebody representing the applicant, Norton Scott, Chelsea Rao, and she wanted to come to you this evening to present some more detailed aspects of what will be appearing on these site plans. So
Great.
I'm going to turn it over to her.
Thank you.
How did I get on this group? I got it straight. Okay.
Using PDF. This format. Scroll over this icon. I'm gonna got this. Yeah. I don't think that's gonna do it. Oh, it's a little bit better, right? Did it cut off some parts?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, why don't you undo that?
Okay.
So click on it again, I think it should undo.
Oh, really? Okay.
Okay, yes.
There we go.
Yeah, I think you can work with this.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you. Great, thank you. Okay, good evening, Commissioner Finkel and members of the Planning Commission.
Good evening.
I'm Chelsea Rao with Norton Scott. We're the future developer, or current developer, I guess, starting next week, hopefully, of this site in Manassas Park, and we're just really excited to get started on this project that has really been a delight to get through and to get to this point. So
Great.
I wanted to just show you all a couple of images, the pretty pictures, if you will, to accompany what the zoning administrator has presented, so that you can see what this will look like come to life. So just here, this is an updated rendering that shows the architecture and the site plan as currently designed, whereas we've been working off some older images, but we really wanted to make sure there was something available to show, what you will see when you go there. And you'll see this image on signage that will go up during the construction period along Manassas, all the way along Manassas Drive on that section, so that people in the community will see what's happening as well. Shoot, there's a page. Okay. This should look familiar. This is the master development plan, just to remind you all of what we worked together on or some of us worked together on last year during the zoning process. The 2 site plans under review now are 2 of 4 site plans total that make up the entire 26-acre development. The second 2 will come a little bit later, and the reason they're split up, a lot of it is actually either related to the way that the comprehensive agreement is laid out, so that we each have, so that there's some phasing, so that the city can be assured that the commercial elements will go in before all of the residential elements are in. But also, but also to accommodate City Hall. So the idea is City Hall can stay in operation until the end of June 2022. Move over the weekend into their new City Hall, and we will demolish this building and move forward with the second phase.
Cool.
So that also drives some of where the site plan lines are. We are starting on a portion that Mickey showed above Building B, which is kind of under these, I know this is so small, under these roads here, which is where the stream it currently is. And we'll be doing that in the early part of the phasing. There's two wetland areas. One is here, and then one is right over here. And we will basically be paying the credits to DEQ and getting that permit in place at the beginning of the project. So we figured we'd start mitigating some of the wetland impacts early on. Again, this is the phasing that we've talked about, and phase 1, you can see here is, phase 1A is this whole area here. So you'll see Park Center Court shutting down, and then pretty much everything south, east, and northeast of Park Center Court under development. And then when BRE is ready, they will come in through this side as well. But we will not be working on that site. We'll be putting up silk fence around that site, but that site plan will come before you when they're ready. Phase 1B and phase 2 essentially happen concurrently, but really what you're seeing here is a dividing line between the commercial portion and the residential portion, which will have 136 units in that second phase. So I'd really like to focus, and my next couple of slides will be on this, on the plaza. I'm gonna zoom in a little, just so you can understand some of the elements that are happening here. So this is the City Hall building, right? And this is a coffee shop retail space here. This is building C, which is a retail space. You can see that everything is really centered around the splash pad as a major focal point. And then we also have over here the video screen, which is pretty large. I think it's 6 feet tall by 14 feet wide. And we previewed it yesterday in person, so you'll be able to see this from various seating areas around the plaza. You have movable furniture here at some of these little tables. You have fixed furniture benches here and down here in this alleyway that goes between the two buildings. And then just, I brought some of the elements in. So you're looking at in-ground lighting bollards, movable furniture dining tables, and then these 2 benches will be across the different parts of the plazas, and they will be virtually fixed. One thing we added that I'll show you another picture of in a minute is the geotechnical report came back and required a retaining wall at this corner of the site. So we really worked to integrate that element into the site plan here. So that's just one thing that's a little bit different than what you would have seen on an earlier plan. We think it will be nice though, because it will accommodate dining here, a little bit of a private area for dining that's separate from the sidewalk on Manassas Drive. And you'll also have, access to the plaza here. And And then again, just looking at materials, these are the materials right here for the splash pad. So these are 2 foot by 2 foot pavers. So you have sort of a playful element going on here for the kids. You have water nozzles in almost all of these squares, and you'll have lights that change. The water goes up to 7 feet safely. It has to be limited to that. And then you'll just see how we've alternated pavers and stamped concrete across the site so that you really understand, if you're a pedestrian, what are the walking areas, what are the passive recreation areas, what is the splash pad area, and it's just a typical way through architecture that you can kind of control some of the traffic across the site, pedestrian traffic. And then here, just so you can see, these are the 3 bricks that will be used on the facades of the architectural elements. So this one in particular is a really beautiful kind of bluish brick color, and I think they complement each other nicely, and you see some echoes of this in the pavers that they'll use on the splash pad. And then lastly, I just wanted to show, actually it's the second to last, a few new elements. So like I talked about, this retaining wall here went in. This is the vertical screen. So you're seeing it from the side, but there's an enclosure that'll have basically be encased in a stone facade right here. Originally, we had the City Hall, or Welcome to Village of Manassas Park sign, whatever it's gonna say through the branding process on the back of this, but there is some electrical equipment that is right here controlling the traffic light that cannot be moved. Not all of it, I believe, is owned by the city. So in order to really camouflage some of that, we pulled the signage out here. So right now, if you're on that curved portion that exists right now, right here on the sidewalk, the sign will be up here, and we'll have a landscaped area behind it that pedestrians won't be able to get into, but it'll provide easy access for any utility maintenance that needs to go into that area, but also really provide good visibility for a sign welcoming people to Village of Manassas Park. The other thing we've changed here, and I believe Laszlo has previewed this with you, is that this section of Road A, Park Center Court, is now all brick pavers. So when the street is closed, it will provide a nice visual continuity between the 2 plazas and across the street. And then I included this because I know this had been a big point during our rezoning, but we are putting a board-on-board fence in this area between the railroad and the residential area. So we'll look something like that. And then lastly, I just wanted to share, these are images provided by Stanley Martin for the residential. And these also are in the design guidelines, so you may have seen them before, but this is, they call their Savannah product that they'll be building on site. I think it provides some nice continuity with the architecture on the plaza and at City Hall. These are some of the materials that they would be using, and then there's just a little kind of plan about how cars fit in at the garage level. So you can see everyone has one garage spot for their car and one full parking spot for their car outside. And that's really all that I have. So thank you for your time. And if you have any questions, my colleagues, David Salzer and Dan Nelson from Norton Scott are on the phone, as well as Matt Marshall, who is the civil engineer from LDC working on this. If you have questions.
Any questions?
I have a question from the content here. Just clarification for me, and I know I've heard it talked about before. On page 9, and it would be about the middle of the page, 06A. It has to do with the width of the street. Where it goes from requirement of 30 feet and the proposed modification would be 24 feet. Would that still allow, is that enough to allow for 2-way traffic, or is that a 1-way traffic pattern?
No, that is 2-way traffic, and that actual width was reviewed and negotiated with the fire marshal. I believe it actually was going to be 20 feet width, if I remember correctly. So it is a bit wider, and yes, it is for two-way traffic.
Okay, I do
And
remember
it
the
is moving
discussion.
slowly. I mean, it will be narrower than your typical through street, but that's the intent of it. You wanted to slow down traffic.
And it's not like it would be traffic like Manassas Drive. This is in a residential area, so it's not going to be constant traffic. And then the other would, excuse me, further down at 06E, to waive the 700 vehicle per day limit. What does that mean?
That means in our public facility manual, there are design guidelines for streets. And when you have a private street, they want to limit the number of vehicle trips that road accommodates. And so basically what it's saying, if it's over that amount, it really should probably be a public street. Private streets are supposed to be privately maintained with the homeowners association, and really the traffic isn't supposed to be substantial. That is the limit that was set in the public facilities manual, and based on the number of units, the traffic there would exceed that requirement. So the applicant did ask for a waiver. I don't think it's much more than the required, but they would go over the amount of vehicle trips.
So would that be inclusive of the homeowners and the public coming to the retail facilities plus the use of City Hall?
No, so those roads in front and Park Center Court are public roads, and then once it hits the residential area, that's when the private road D1 starts. And so that area should really be mostly residents
The residential.
and visitors. And that's how it's set up now. I can't guarantee people are going to drive down there, not knowing that it's really more of a residential area, but that's the intent.
Well, it would dead end anyway, wouldn't it? I mean, it's not such as a cut through. It
Right,
could
it's
never
not a cut
end up
through.
being a cut
It
through.
really is just serving the residents and
Okay.
visitor parking further down Park Center Court.
Thank you.
No questions.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Well, great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that.
I did want to add a component just to emphasize for the viewing public, as well as our commissioners and staff here. One concern, of course, was noise from the railroad tracks, and I do want to highlight that, and it's contained in the staff report, that they are doing some noise mitigation measures for these appropriately the townhomes that you see before you. So they will be installing windows and doors that have a higher called sound transmission class, which means it dampens the noise much better, as well as the exterior products like the masonry will, and apparently that does do a lot of noise mitigation, and if that's not going to be provided on that unit, they will be adding extra materials for the walls for noise deadening requirements. So I think that's important to highlight, and we're pleased with that. There are several other proffers that are being met with these two site plans. And then just finally, staff is recommending that the Planning Commission recommend to the zoning administrator approval of these two site plans, number 20-10A and 20-10B.
And no members of the public are here to speak.
Right, correct.
Just wanted to give an offer just to make sure if any members of
Hopefully
the-
this generates some discussion online or elsewhere, so. But
Okay.
we're very pleased, and I think all staff is very excited. We're working hard to get to this point, and we'll see the fruits of our labor with our applicant, which is also a component and that's the word I'm trying to look for. They are working with the city to make this development happen.
Okay. Great, thank you. Thank you for your presentation there. If there are no other questions, then I will close the public meeting here. Again, there were no members of the public to speak. The time is 7:30. Any discussion before we move to?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then I'll ask for a motion to recommend to the Planning and Zoning Administrator approval of site plans SP number 20-10A and SP number 20-10B, Village at Manassas Park, phases 1A for residential and commercial.
So moved.
Second.
Second. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Very good. So, just moving along, we have a discussion item. It's not necessarily a continuation of the hearing because we closed the hearing on the draft CIP at our last meeting, and we'll have another hearing for it at our next meeting. But did want to have the CIP on as a discussion item. There are a couple of Administrator Barry, is there anything before? I do have the two, it looks like there were two comments that were received by members of the we received from members of the public, so I'd be happy to read those in at a moment.
Sure. Just as a bit of an introduction, we are having a discussion of the Planning Commission, just, if you want to say, call it a work session for any potential questions you have on the CIP. It was requested that staff provide a copy of the comprehensive plan for our commissioners to evaluate some of the projects and maybe identify priorities. So we did provide those, and this will be a continuing discussion because we will come back to you either next month or in May to do the final recommendation for the CIP before that will come before you. And so this is just a continuing discussion, and if we need to make any adjustments or improvements about the priorities.
Great. Thank you. What I'll do is, we did receive a couple of comments from Mr. Mark Scheffler, and I just thought we could read those into the record and make sure that they were moved forward to be considered by the city as it continues to update the CIP. Mr. Mark Scheffler, I don't have his, let's see, do I have his address here? A Manassas area resident, doesn't have his address here, but the last name is Scheufler. His first comment was provided to us on February 12th. Please consider the following comment to the FY 2022 to FY 2026 CIP. Add a sidewalk to Manassas Drive between Railroad Drive and the new City Hall parcel. There's a picture that he's provided below where he was walking with a stroller on the gravel. Says it's not pleasant. If you want the city center to be successful, you need to provide safe walkable access. This will help connect the primary market area for the city center. So that was his initial comment there. And then the other one is just a little bit larger, so I appreciate John there. I appreciate that. So I'm just going to get up here. Let's see here. Oh, okay. So yeah, there just must go here. He's got a number of pictures there. Let me see if he had a long. Here it is. He has this here, so I'll just thank you. Thanks. So February 26th, he sent another comment, same from Mr. Mark Scheffler, Manassas Park. He addressed it to the Manassas Park governing body. After skimming through, let's see, is this the retreat? Yeah, this looks like it's still part of the, he wants this to be considered. Yep. he's saying a retreat. So was there a retreat?
Yeah, there was. Over the last few weeks, we held 2 governing body retreat sessions.
Okay, fine. So this would have nothing to do with the CIP then?
Unless he's mentioning specific capital projects, because that was one of the priorities. It was infrastructure.
I can read this, and if it's
Yeah.
applicable, then at least it's in the record then. Okay, thank you. He says, after skimming through your retreat video on YouTube, there was one recommendation to consider: allow R2 duplexes, R3 triplexes in the R-1 zoning area on the west side of the city with design guidelines so new buildings are aesthetically integrated into the community. The current R1 build environment on the west side of the city does not allow for the city to extract enough tax revenue to cost effectively provide the needed city services. And he has in parentheses road, sidewalks, transit, water, sewer, UOSA, park maintenance. This problem is only going to get worse without intervention as land values continue to increase in the region. Restricting the build environment is not going to make the situation better. Benefits, number 1, provides incentive to refresh the aging housing stock, 2, allow for more affordable housing options in the city, and in parentheses, missing middle housing. Number 3, reduces overcrowding in existing housing stock. Number 4, could create more off-street parking. Number 5, creates more local small business jobs, investments in the city. Number 6, creates more tax revenue per acre of land. Number 7, allows for slow, steady growth within the city that is landlocked. Number 8, can help support a lower tax rate over time. Number 9, multifamily units have a smaller carbon footprint than housing with the same number of residents in single-family homes. And then he has a number of articles here that he has links to read and a couple of videos to go along with that. He's got a couple of tax revenue example showing a picture of a duplex, and then accessory dwelling units should be an option to increase housing stock affordability on the east side of the city. As a former resident that left the city due to high taxes, the city needs to think outside the box to be comparable with other jurisdictions in regards to taxes and employee pay retention. So that's the other comment there. Those are the only I've seen so far on the draft CIP.
Yeah.
Do commissioners have any questions at this time regarding the draft CIP?
Do not, sir.
Just wanted to
None from me.
make sure. Okay.
But we'll just say for that sidewalk, he's absolutely right. That sidewalk does need to be done. The goal was to wait. You see there's some undeveloped land on the other side of the tracks.
Yes.
They've been waiting for kind of litigation to
Make its way.
kind of be completed, which it is. So we're waiting to see what's going to happen with that land. It's currently part of the Palisades development. So there's supposed to be additional commercial over there.
Okay.
So the goal was to always kind of push for the developer to go ahead and complete the sidewalks on those sides of the road before we spend taxpayer money. But if that's not moving anywhere, he's absolutely right. By the time this is up and running, we do need to have the sidewalk, at least on that side of the road, complete so that it will be something that we will include. But the hope is that we can get a private developer to do it for us before spending taxpayer money.
Okay. I've walked that a number of times too.
Yeah,
it isn't pleasant.
So that sidewalk would be from the railroad down past the railroad office building?
Correct.
Down to that corner?
Yeah, that corner
Railroad
has...
Drive or?
Yeah, Railroad Drive, yep. And then ideally on the other side as well. Because right now it's just grass and there's like a bus stop right there, but it's just grass. There's no sidewalks
On the
there.
other side of the street?
Other side of Manassas Drive. Yeah.
Okay,
So on both sides from Railroad Drive to the actual tracks, there's no sidewalk on either side.
Down, exactly.
Yeah. So, but that needs to be rectified, and the hope is we can get the private developer to do so, and not
Because
spend.
once we get everything up here, up and running, if you want people walking down the hill.
They absolutely do, yeah.
For real.
Absolutely. It's not the safest of walks right now.
Yeah,
So.
to walk in the street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, I've been looking for like CDBG opportunities in the past as well to get funds for that, but we haven't had a lot of traction with that. My hope is that with this new federal funding, we may be able to get some traction with CDBG as it relates to kind of supporting housing. Other things, but I'll be briefing the governing body on different ideas for what to do with that money here soon.
And you're always looking for grant money.
Yeah, absolutely. We're doing that still as well, and earmarks are back as well now with the federal government. So there's like a specific application process for that. So I may be briefing the governing body here shortly on trying to go for some of that for like the stormwater, the Russia branch stream restoration, and if the money's available, if we can help out our taxpayers, then we're gonna go and try to pursue that funding.
Always,
Yeah,
certainly. Yeah.
absolutely.
Hopefully that infrastructure bill is going to get
Yeah, the
through at
infrastructure
some
bill will
point
be huge
because
as
the
well. Yeah.
Highway Trust Fund needs to be reauthorized by September 30th of this year.
Yeah.
And my agency gets funding out of that as well, so I understand.
But even with the American Rescue Plan, there's language in there about water, sewer, and broadband infrastructure. So the CIP, our opportunity to do more will likely be stronger here. So whatever we're going to talk about in April, likely, will probably go out the window this summer when we start evaluating what we're going to do with that money. So we will so it's important for you all to kind of look at the comp plan, really start kind of coming up with your all's prioritization. And some of those things that are kind of lower right now that we don't think we can do for a few years, we may actually be able to do some of them sooner. So it is important to kind of at least think that and kind of set up your own guidelines now for what you all want to see prioritized. Yeah. And I have a good feeling we're going to be able to do a lot of it here over the next 3.5 years with this funding, not just from the American Rescue Plan, but like you said, the infrastructure bill that may be going through, and then potentially with earmarks as well if we're fortunate enough to receive some.
We'll see what we can do I know it's only 3 weeks until our April meeting, so if it's going to be...
what I'll do there is, so we'll have the tax assessment data by that time. So my plan on April 6th, I brief the governing body, the overall budget, and then your meeting. I'll be presenting a as-is budget right now.
Fine.
Without because I don't think we'll be getting robust Treasury guidance on the federal. We're not going to receive the federal funding likely till the end of May, June timeframe anyways. Right. And we want to really wait for what the full Treasury guidance is on the use of those funds. So, and I don't want to pressure the governing body to vote like within a few weeks of getting that. Right. So we'll probably just end up doing a normal budget, and then the summer we're going to dive deep into this federal funding and come up with, like we did for the CARES Act, we came up with a separate CARES Act budget. We'll probably do something similar for this, and then we'll incorporate that into the budget via budget amendment later.
Fine.
So we don't have to kind of rush through things. The goal is not to start spending that. If we get it in June, we'll just hold off till FY22 to actually start spending.
That'll give us time to start going through the plan together and getting to know it as intimately as we can in the time we have before that. So that's actually good if we have the time to this year to sort of catch up as a commission and then have a much better ability to offer feedback on prioritization.
Absolutely. Yeah, because I have a feeling with current as-is budget, it's going to be hard to get a lot of these CIP items done.
Yes.
So you'll see a lot of them being pushed back, and then this summer we may be bringing a lot of them back to the front when, depending again on what the legislation allows. But right now it is clear water, sewer infrastructure, and broadband infrastructure. And there's a few things we can do with broadband as well.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Great.
Lester, would you anticipate any work session meetings other than our regular meetings to start looking at this?
Well, that's what I wanted to give the commission an opportunity to talk about how best we can take this forward. I'm looking forward to our monthly meeting for sure, except for the CIP whenever we have that next as an item. Do we have any other larger hearings that we will be doing along the way? Because I think we will have time.
Next month, there might be another site plan to present.
Well, we had tonight, so that's not going to take much time.
But other than, at this point, other than that.
I would hope in the summer phase 4 rezoning will be the big topic of discussion, but they're waiting on us to finalize our negotiations with Park 170 owners for the parking arrangement we have. So once that gets finalized, then they'll submit their rezoning application to Mickey's office, and then that will be likely the next big item in the summertime coming to you all, similar to this, but not as complex as this one.
Okay. So for us, do we want to, looking at it just at the moment here, it's got a number of chapters to it. Do we want to, the first couple of chapters, there's three or so, are setting it up for what's in the document itself. So do we want to take one of the major sections and read it over, and then at our next meeting have an opportunity to start talking about it?
What I was thinking, well, from what we have already, what was presented to us last month, I would like to be able to take that and sit with this and see where it fits, to see what we need to look at. And like you said, we need to prioritize what we want to.
Right. And it looks like we have a little bit more time then to do that, because it's sort of, we're rushing with it. We just got the the plan as a commission tonight. So
I think you should try to get at least your initial guidance to the governing body by April 20th.
Okay.
That's when I brief the governing body on the CIP. So it would be nice to have kind of the planning commission recommendation by that time. So we kind of present those they can receive your recommendations. Then I present that night kind of the money side of it, and then they have a few weeks to deliberate what they want to do on that. So that would be the initial. It doesn't mean you have to stop here. Like this can, budgeting is always like a constant. Yeah.
In depth, but
Correct.
At least for this year's purpose, if we were to, I know I have 3 weeks between now and the next meeting, but if we were to take this and look at the CIP, I mean, each of us has a copy of it, so we can take a look at it. And at our next meeting, we can then just put out what we consider, after having taken a look at the plan, what seems to be the good prioritization, and then if there's differences, we can talk about it. Does that make sense? Or?
Sounds good, yeah.
Okay, good. And then as we move forward, we can definitely take a section at a time and really dig into it and talk about, does it meet our needs as a city? Does it need to be updated? We can talk about that as we go forward, because looking at it, 06, this was updated in 06. It had been 15 years since the original plan was put together. Now we're already 16 years, 15 years beyond that. So it's an opportunity for us as a commission to really get into it and see if we see opportunities to update it, and if so, how, and then we can talk about that moving forward. Is that?
Yeah, and especially we have, obviously I've been here during all those years,
Sure.
but not been totally involved.
Okay.
But now that we have new faces and new ideas with you and Michael,
Yep.
and to get your input as to what it looks like coming in as a new person, yeah.
Fine. Good. So if at our next meeting, after we have the discussion, if we want to pick a chapter and start reading through it more in depth, and then we
Cutting
can
it down,
have a follow-up. Does that sound fair?
Sounds good.
Good. I just wanted to offer, I'm a history buff, and I love the American Civil War. I've read about since I was 7 years old, and that was many decades ago. I went to page 11 of the comprehensive plan, and it speaks to the First and Second Battle of Manassas there. And so I'm looking at it, and I said, okay, fine. Get down to the bottom of the Second Battle of Manassas there. And it says that 3 days of fighting, and so, of course, the Second Battle of Manassas was in August of 1862. It says here that it opened the way for Lee's invasion of the North, ultimately leading to Gettysburg. Now, I just wanted to say that is rewriting history. Because Gettysburg wasn't until 1863, July. Now, Chancellorsville was fought before going to Gettysburg. Antietam actually was fought after the Second Battle of Manassas. So we've rewritten history with our comprehensive plan by having one battle in there. So I just thought that was...
And as a new person to the city, of course, I've lived around here most of my life now, but people don't know that Signal View, this was the highest point, and that was where the messages were sent from right here in our little town to the troops along the way.
There's a monument there, I understand, for the Signal Corps. Is it... very interesting.
Rondelay and
Yes.
all that stuff. It's really,
Very historic. It's a great place.
And actually, my street is he was a Union soldier before he.
Okay.
Elsie, he was a Union soldier before he was a Confederate soldier.
Wow.
Because right away I go, what does Elsie mean? Well, he was a man.
Wow.
So
That's
Elsie
cool.
Place, yeah.
So we're really
Good stuff.
history rich
Good
here,
stuff,
that's
yeah.
for sure. I appreciate your indulgence. I just, I wanted to, I couldn't
We're a
believe we
little
had,
off track now,
we,
but
we had rewritten history in our comprehensive plan. I don't know if I should feel proud about that or what. I mean, it's pretty good.
Good stuff.
Good. Any other discussion on the topic? We're good?
Really?
Thank you for,
Absolutely.
thank you for that. So no report of special committees, informational update from community development staff.
right, well, just real brief, we are moving along with the Village of Manassas Park development. That is keeping our staff busy, as well as anticipating the future Phase 4, as well as continuing with the CIP. So those are the main focus projects right now. I know we did talk about the trail or pedestrian passageway from Digital to Railroad Drive. I
Yes.
believe that is currently under construction.
It is under construction, it hasn't been completed yet.
Completed
No.
at this point, but that's encouraging news. I think the last time we spoke, they had yet to start, but it was imminent, and now, so it's under construction.
Are they having to relocate? There was an electrical box or a conduit there that was there. I was wondering if that was going to have to be moved or not for the
Where
stairs.
exactly is the trail?
It's behind the Palisades development, in between the Palisades development and the Point and Park Station.
So the Railroad Dental
So behind,
office across
down
the street
behind,
from Railroad
okay.
Dental.
Because
and
I
then
know it runs from my place down, yeah,
Yeah, this is just a.
behind Haverhill. Well, it's not Haverhill anymore, but yeah.
But that's, yeah, it's a very straight path that kind of runs the boundary line of those properties, but it's a kind of a quick
Yep.
pass through.
Yeah, to get over to the VRE,
the
yep.
VRE, exactly.
cuts the walk in half for me anyway. It would be a mile. It's a half a mile. If once that goes through, that's
Yeah, they
makes a
have been
difference.
working on it. So when you drive past the railroad building, you see on your, like driving from here back east, you pass the railroad building on the left, you will see work being done on that
Behind.
trail there. Yeah.
Good
They
deal.
have to build a retaining wall or retaining.
Yeah.
An extra
Well,
portion
yeah,
of it
for
because it just
sure.
quit.
So,
Cool.
they're good news and progress. And so.
Good. Yeah, I just looked the other day to see if it was done or not, and it wasn't quite, but it's got the stuff up, and they obviously are working on it, so that's important. That's good.
Yeah, it's good when you can see
Yes.
something, yeah. We talk about it and then you walk over there and yeah,
Where is it?
they are doing something, yeah.
Well, we're about to see a lot over here too. so.
Gonna happen.
That's imminent, I forget,
Yeah.
is it, I mean, when are they putting up the fencing and the?
I think within the next few weeks,
Within the
yeah.
next few
But the
weeks.
big thing will be the median work that will start in April, and then closure of Park Center Court late April.
Okay.
So,
Well.
yeah. And we will be doing a ribbon cutting ceremony. So I'm getting just different options from the governing body right now, and we'll set a date, and then we'll invite the Planning Commission and the Economic Development Authority as well to attend.
Thank you. That'll be exciting. Cool. Very good.
Well, and that's all I have. for the
Excellent.
commission.
That's great. Thank you. So unless there's anything else from commissioners, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion, second? Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. The time is 7:40.